Hi there, these comments are for one of my students, and I am Michael, the founder owner and the materials writer for all of your lessons at the 7-step system to pass a TOEFL IBT. So I just read your essay, and it could be better. It's not terrible, but I gave you 3.0 out of 5, or 20 points out of 30, or 76 out of 100. So the question is, with what you've written here, what kinds of changes do you need to make so that your essay will score 5.5 out of 5, or 30 points out of 30, or 100 points out of 100? So that's kind of what I want to look at right now. So the hard part for me is I'm having some trouble understanding how your ideas are connected, right? So let me just show you what I'm talking about. Now, if I go up to you and say, "How are you?" you're probably going to say, "Fine," right? You'll say, "Fine, I'm okay, thanks," right? So what you say connects back to what I say. Now, if we look at your first topic sentence, I have to naturally say, okay, how does what you say here relate back to the purpose here? So do you agree or disagree that teachers should be paid according to how much your students learn? You say the generations of these days become hard to deal with them, whatever their ages, if they're still children or become adolescents. But you're just stating some facts. You're not really making any argument here. So your topic sentence doesn't really connect back to the purpose. Now, you do say at the end, this is one answer for why we should pay for teacher, unless the student understand or not. So the final sentence in the paragraph does connect here, but you also need to have a topic sentence. I would rather you have a good topic sentence and you say this sentence. Okay, again, if I put this, it says teachers should be paid according to how much the students learn. You say teaching is hard job. Some people think that is easy job. But again, it doesn't really answer this question. So your paragraphs need to be better connected around the purpose. How do you do this? How, right? So I'm going to keep these sentences here for a while. And we're going to work on your essay. I'm going to show you some things you can do that will help connect it back to the purpose. Now, you'll also see, in addition to having some problems with organization, you have an enormous number of problems with sentence structure and word choice. So you definitely want to overcome, I think, some of these issues before you start your graduate study, because you definitely don't want to be turning in these kinds of papers. Okay, so I'm going to take the 2 points here and we look at your thesis. You say teaching is one of the maybe most respectful jobs in the world, maybe. How about connect these two paragraphs together? So you say teaching is one of the most respectful jobs in the world, even though many people say that the job is easy. Yeah, the two sentences don't really tie together very well, so I'm going to say this. Teaching is one of the most difficult jobs in the world, even though many people say that the job is easy. Does not require much effort. So your sentences are not just fitting together very well, to be honest with you. I mean, you have one sentence, another one. You need to make things connect together. You might say something like, nevertheless, a huge number of teachers are employed and they suffer many problems every day. You might say something like these. Valiant instructors These valiant instructors try to solve and deal with these issues daily. See, what I'm trying to do is to connect your ideas together better than what you did, because you're having some cohesion issues. That means you want to go to my writing lesson. You remember how to make writing more coherent? I think it's writing lesson number 8. You got to do more of that, because if you don't, your sentences aren't going to connect together. So I used even though to connect these two together. Then I said nevertheless. Then I said these instructors. So let's see what we have so far. Teaching is one of the most difficult jobs in the world, even though many people, I'm going to say here, say that the job is easy and it does not require much effort. Nevertheless, a huge number of teachers are employed and they suffer many problems every day. These valiant instructors try to solve and deal with these issues daily. You see how I use the word these issues? I use this here because I wanted to tie it back to many problems. So I wanted to make my sentences connect together. Your sentences are not connecting together very well, so you got to work on that. You got to make sure each sentence fits within the context of the paragraph, and that the one sentence logically follows the next. So you say, teaching is a hard job. So I'm looking at your thesis here, which I think is this, right? But I think we need to work on making it a little bit better. So in this one, you're saying that it looks like your thesis is students are less respectful, right? Which I think that's what you're trying to show. Okay, so it looks like kind of both of these paragraphs are doing similar things, which we don't want, right? We want to make sure that we develop separate points in different paragraphs. So I think that we can figure this out. Unfortunately, okay, so I'm struggling a little bit. So teaching is a hard job, and it looks like this is respectful. So I think that we can figure out your thesis now, right? What I'm trying to do here is to create a thesis that will tie in both of your body paragraphs. Students have become less respectful than in the past. And this is for my next one. What I'm doing here is I'm taking this idea that you said here, teaching is a hard job, and put it up here. Now instead of hard isn't really a good vocabulary word, by the way. So we'll say the nature of the teaching profession is labor intensive. I'm going to say here, for these two reasons, notice how I put a comma here, because for these two reasons, that's a prepositional phrase. I still need a subject. So for these two reasons, teachers should not be paid according to how much their students maybe learn. You might say, first of all, should not be paid one of our vocabulary words. How about pupils? So I'm not repeating the word students again. Teachers should not be paid according to how much your students learn, because many of these pupils disrespect every day. Now, what did I do here? I put this here. I put this idea so it reminds me what I'm trying to do. So the first step is you want to make sure that your topic sentences directly answer this question. That's what I did. First of all, teachers should not be paid according to how much your students learn, because many of these pupils disrespect their teachers every day. Now we get into what you're saying, right? You might say today's generation of youngsters have become hard to deal with. So we're focusing around respect, right? I don't even think you need this. Many students I'm going to change this to, you don't have to say they. When you say students, you're using your subject, right? So you don't need double subjects. So many students don't respect what their teachers are doing. And they think that it is part of, not them, you need a possessive word here, part of their, or part of the teacher's job to suffer bad behaviors. This what? This rude disrespectful conduct can be overwhelming. Too much effort, that's not the right word, right? So you need to work on your vocabulary. It can be overwhelming. I think that's going to work better. This rude and disrespectful conduct can be overwhelming for teachers. I don't think you need this sentence, but I think this next one works pretty well. So for example, when teachers start to explain the lesson and the students are talking to each other or sleeping, you might say teachers may try to stop this disrespectful behavior, but many students will not listen to them. Furthermore, students may try to joke with their teachers by putting, you want to use putting here, not the B, by putting gum or liquid things on the teacher's chair. This is just one simple example. You want to say difficulties that teachers have dealing with their students. You might say, this is one example for why we should pay teachers. You don't want to say unless, I'm going to say regardless of whether or not the students understand what is being taught. Teachers should not be held responsible what these rebellious students have or have not learned. Okay, I think we have it. So I think we have this paragraph a little bit better focused, but you had the ideas in there, but I had to make a few changes to make the paragraph a little bit more unified. The main thing is I gave your paragraph a label. I gave it a topic sentence. That was important. You didn't do that. You need to have topic sentences. You remember what I said in class? I said that your topic sentences need to be arguable. But if you look at the next one, teaching is a hard job, you're stating more of a fact. There's not much of an argument being made there. So you want to make sure your topic sentences are not just factual statements, but they're actually making arguments. All right, let's take a look at this paragraph one more time. So we have our introduction here, right? So first of all, teachers should not be paid according to how much your students learn, because many of these pupils disrespect their teachers every day. Today's generation of youngsters have become hard to deal with. Many students don't respect what their teachers are doing. They think that it is part of the teacher's jobs to suffer bad behaviors. This rude, disrespectful conduct can be overwhelming for teachers. For example, when teachers start to explain the lesson and the students are talking to each other or sleeping, teachers may try to stop. You might want to say here, this disrespectful behavior, but many students will not listen. Furthermore, students may try to joke with their teachers by putting gum or liquid things on the teachers' chairs. Make this plural. This is just one simple example of the difficulties that teachers have dealing with their students. How about instead of saying this is one example, we just said that. So let's say, thus, we should pay teachers regardless of whether or not the students understand what is being taught. Teachers should not be held responsible for what these rebellious students have or have not learned. Okay, we got it. Teaching is a hard job, right? But we got to connect it back to this purpose. So you might want to say, second of all, due to the enormous teaching, lesson plan creation, and grading workload, okay, so I think we have it here, so let's take a look. So we're trying to work on your topic sentences. That's the first step, really. If you can have a little bit better organization, I think, with your thesis and your topic sentences, you will effectively tighten up the organization of your writing, no doubt. I'm showing you exactly how you can do it right now. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you how you can tie this paragraph together a little bit better. You have a lot of good ideas in here, but I'm going to be honest with you, they just don't fit together that well. For example, some of the ideas, they cannot leave them until the lesson finished. They may make the teacher repeat the lesson. There are many studying. Technology, children now try to do what teens did and the bad things, some parents like it. There's just not a good connection of ideas here. It's all about your topic sentences. Now, if you say this, due to the enormous teaching, the lesson plan creation, grading workload, teachers' pay should not be based on how the students are learning. Now, if you start off the topic sentence with point A, B, and C, it's now much easier to organize this paragraph. So then you might say, firstly, you can say, we'll say elementary typically teach 5 to 6 hours every day. They work hard at getting their students to pay attention and to encourage them and this goes to our first idea here, normative teaching. Firstly, elementary and high school teachers typically teach 5 to 6 hours every day. They work hard at getting their students to pay attention and encourage these learners to discuss and apply the information that they're learning daily. Secondly, in order for these teachers to teach their lessons effectively, they have to create. How about they have to plan and create the lessons in a way that will help most of their students understand and learn what is being taught. You might say most of this lesson plan creation, how about that? You think I used this by mistake? I don't think so, right? I'm repeating part of my topic sentence to continually give my paragraph a purpose, a unified purpose. So most of this lesson plan creation is done outside of class, and these hard working teachers are not paid any more money for creating these lesson plans. Then we'll say, thirdly, guess what I'm going to do now? Once teachers have planned lessons and have created and have taught them to their students, they will need to evaluate the students' understanding of the course material by administering exams. Therefore, these teachers will have to spend additional time grading these students. We might say creating lessons and grading students' work. They you might say most certainly should never get their pay reduced because some students are not learning the material. We got it. I think we have that one. How many words is that anyway? We'll see what we got. So now if it's too long, you can always get rid of some points here. That's a big fat paragraph, no doubt. But you see what I'm saying? If you can be a little more focused in the beginning of your body paragraphs, and particularly with your topic sentences, it makes it much easier for you to organize each of these paragraphs. You notice how I use the word enormous teaching, lesson plan creation, grading workload. Then I said firstly, then I talk about the teaching load. Then I go to secondly, I talk about the lesson plan creation. Then I go thirdly, and I talk about the grading workload. And then even when I get to the end, I tie it all together. I say, consequently, since teachers are underpaid due to all this extra time, you might say extra time spent teaching, creating lessons, and grading students' work, they most certainly should never get their pay reduced because some students are not learning the material being taught. Okay, so as I said in the beginning of the video, you're writing right now 3.0 out of 5, 20 points out of 30 on the practice test that you completed at my website. Your score in this class, it puts you at 76% out of 100. So I want to read the essay just one more time. We'll make just a few more corrections and then we'll go to my website. I'll make some recommendations as to certain lessons I think you can focus on to get better. Alright, so teaching is one of the most difficult jobs in the world, even though many people say that the job is easy, and maybe say, and that it does not require much effort. Nevertheless, a huge number of teachers are employed, and they suffer many problems every day. These valiant instructors try to solve and deal with these issues daily. Unfortunately, students have become less respectful than in the past, which makes it increasingly more difficult for teachers to teach the subject matter of their courses. In addition, the nature of the teaching profession is labor intensive. For these two reasons, teachers should not be paid according to how much your students learn. So then we get into our body paragraphs, right? So first of all, teachers should not be paid according to how much your students learn, because many of these pupils disrespect their teachers every day. Today's generation of youngsters have become hard to deal with. Many students don't respect what their teachers are doing, and they think that it is part of the teachers' jobs to suffer bad behaviors. This rude, disrespectful conduct can be overwhelming for teachers. For example, when teachers, let's put a comma after the transition word. So when teachers start to explain the lesson and the teachers are talking to each other or sleeping, teachers may try to stop this disrespectful behavior, but many students will not listen. Furthermore, students may try to joke with their teachers by putting gum or liquid things on the teachers' chairs. This is just one simple example of the difficulties that teachers have dealing with their students. Thus, we should pay teachers regardless of whether or not these students understand what is being taught. Students should not be held responsible for what these rebellious students have or have not learned. Second of all, due to the enormous teaching, lesson plan creation, and grading workload, teachers' pay should not be based on how their students are learning the course materials. Firstly, elementary and high school teachers typically teach 5 to 6 hours every day. They work hard at getting their students to pay attention and encourage these learners to discuss and apply the information that they are learning daily. Secondly, in order for the teachers to teach their lessons effectively, they have to plan and create the lessons in a way that will help most of their students understand what is being taught. Most of this lesson plan creation is done outside of class, and these hard-working teachers are not paid any more money for creating these lesson plans. Thirdly, once teachers have planned lessons and have taught them to their students, they will need to evaluate the students' understanding of the course material by administering exams. Therefore, these teachers will have to spend additional time grading the students' homework assignments and tests. Consequently, since teachers are underpaid due to all this extra time spent teaching, creating lessons, and grading students' work, they most certainly should never get their pay reduced because some students are not learning the material being taught. To sum up, in the past, teachers were held in higher esteem by society because many knew how much time they spent looking for information and how they could explain that information to students. So they were paid well. Consequently, they were respected more by students and parents. Due to the disrespect and the heavy course load that teachers often get, their pay should not be based on how much their students learn. So that is a revision of what you wrote. Okay, let's take a look at this third body paragraph a little more and make a few more corrections. So, due to the enormous teaching, lesson plan creation, and grading workload, teachers' pay should not be based on how their students are learning the course materials. Firstly, elementary and high school teachers typically teach 5 to 6 hours a day. They work hard at getting their students to pay attention and encourage these learners to discuss and apply the information that they are learning daily. Secondly, in order for the teachers to teach, we want to get rid of this, to teach their lessons effectively, they have to plan and create the lessons in a way that will help most of their students understand and learn. Probably don't need to put both of these. I'm being redundant there. So they can help most of their students understand what is being taught. Most of this lesson plan creation is done outside of class, and these hardworking teachers are not paid any more money for creating these lesson plans. Thirdly, once teachers have planned lessons and have taught them to their students, they will need to evaluate the students' understanding the course material by administering exams. Therefore, these teachers will have to spend additional time grading the students' homework assignments and tests. Consequently, these teachers are underpaid due to all this extra time spent teaching, creating lessons, and grading students' work. Or since teachers are underpaid, they most certainly should never get their pay reduced because some students are not learning the material being taught. We got it. Now the question is, let's look at your conclusion. I'm going to just say, you need maybe to sum up so due to the disrespect and the heavy workload that teachers often get, their pay should not be based on how much their students learn. And then I don't know what else. I'm trying to incorporate what you're saying, but teachers are idols for hard workers, or teachers are, I don't think that's going to work. But maybe we can say this: in the past, you might want to say teachers were held in higher, you might say higher esteem by society, maybe, you might say. So in the past, teachers were held in higher esteem by society because many knew, you might say, because many knew how much time, you might want to say how much time they spent, you want to say looking for information, so in the past, teachers were held in higher esteem by society because they knew how much time they spent looking for information and how they maybe could explain that information to students. So they were paid well, right? Consequently, they were respected more by students and parents. So consequently, they were respected more by students and parents. So let's end with the this idea. So I'm going to cut this, and we'll put this here, and then we'll put this at the end. So we'll end restating your thesis. That's probably a better way to end the essay there. All right, so let's look at the conclusion one more. To sum up, in the past, teachers were held in higher esteem by society because many knew how much time they spent looking for information and how they could explain that information to students, so they were paid well. Consequently, they were respected more by students and parents. Then you might say, due to the disrespect and the heavy course load that teachers often get, their pay should not be based on how much their students learn. Okay, so at my website here, here's what I recommend. The main thing with your writing is there's kind of two different kinds of connection problems going on with the writing. The first one is you're not making each of your sentences, they're not connecting together very well. And also you're not making the topic sentences and the thesis in the essay to connect together very well. So the first thing for you is review this lesson here, writing lesson number 4, creating sharply focused thesis statements. I think that's going to be very helpful for you at this point. And the other one, you've already studied the lesson, but you still have not mastered the concepts in this lesson. This is writing lesson number 8. You need to make the writing more coherent. You can do it by repeating, I think, key ideas from one sentence to the next or from one paragraph to the next. You can also improve by using more transition words to connect your ideas. So I think that lesson will also be very, very helpful for you in your writing right now. So I at least look at that. Now the other areas, you have some language use issues you're also working on. So I encourage you to work in the vocabulary and the grammar part of my course. I have a lot of great lessons there to help you improve your language. It takes time. It'll take probably 2 or 3 months. But if you spend time in the vocabulary and the grammar parts of my course, you will also improve. All right, so those are my recommendations based on your writing practice test.